All right. All right. All right. What's going on, everybody? It is Monday. It's Mike and Wendy, and we are back in the marriage shop. Seems like we have not been like actually here, physically here in this space for a long, long time.
Yep, that's true. So, Lady T and
Quick dog.
Quick,
What's up,
yeah,
man?
thanks for jumping in here early.
Yeah.
Day 54 out of the hospital. That's
Come
definitely
on, man.
something to
Wow.
celebrate.
Yeah,
Praise God.
that is amazing. You about to be out longer than you were in, bro.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Good
So,
stuff. So yeah, glad you guys could join us. It was a bit crazy last week, I have to say. I was trying to make it happen, and I learned that the that my phone was connected to the Wi-Fi in the office, so that was part of the problem. And then, I mean, things just happen. Can't control everything. But welcome back.
no, you can't. No, it's good. It's good to be back. But if I just heard what you just said right then, I might be a little bit confused. Like what? Like the Wi-Fi in the office and the
Yeah,
yeah. So,
yeah. Well,
but but anyway, yeah. But our office sits in a little cottage, and the house is off a little bit, and but the signals cross, right? And then boom, there you go. It's all good. But hey, we worked it out, and we got. I mean, somebody like shouted us out for all that.
Yeah, I
That was
mean,
crazy.
thank you. Shelley Wilson actually sent a nice, encouraging message following that. It just really kind of talked about our with our example and our perseverance. So, there's something to be said for pushing through, even when things don't go exactly right. And so we mentioned to you guys last week that we were going to be on Instagram Live on Thursday of last week, and we were. And technology was working against us yet again. Not on our end this time, but it didn't matter. But I think that all in all, despite technology and anything that tries to come against God's word, it failed. And so we just kind of pushed through. We were able to just kind of share some things on the topic of for better or for worse. The Sanchez's are just, we just love them. They're just
Yeah.
a really, really cool couple. And we met them a few years ago in 2019 when
Yeah.
we started our journey as speakers with Family Life. And so Moses and Marilette, if you guys happen to join us in the Marriage Shop, thank you. Thank you again for inviting us. And it was cool to just sit and chit and chat, as they say.
Chit and chat.
Yeah,
Is that
so
what they say?
yeah, that's what the song says.
Oh.
So yeah, so it's good. So we're glad to be
Yeah.
back together and in Evans, where I don't know what the weather is doing.
It's chilly and rainy and cloudy, feeling like Seattle. But Lady T said she wants your hat, by the way. Just wanted to put it out there. So, but yeah, it's a little chilly here. This is not the Georgia winter we signed up for. I'm just saying.
Nope.
We have to push this thing way south.
Yeah,
Pitch off from the Caribbean or something the next time.
maybe so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you
we
think
got?
about that whole idea of for better or for worse, we've talked about that topic a little bit in the past. We talked about health. We talked about illness. We talked about drug use. We talked about
Mental health.
infidelity. We talked about mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Just a number of things. And I think that's not an exhaustive list, right? I think that there are things that come up, even when they're small things, that could be considered the four worst moments in your marriage, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the worst for both of you. It could be that one person is seeing it as the worst, and one person is seeing it as everything's good. So that's why communication is so important.
Yeah.
And checking in is so important, just to make sure that we're kind of on the same sheet, or at least in the same book.
At least on the same shelf.
Yeah.
Hey, sometimes you got to take it how you can get it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, with all that said, what are we talking about tonight?
Well, we're going to be talking about defensiveness tonight. And so I don't know if you wanted to go ahead and highlight real quick the release. Or we can do it later?
Okay, yeah. So you guys know every week when we do the Marriage Shop, we open up with a song and we end with the same song. And that song was really a gift to us from our good friend JC. And JC, or it's your boy JC on Instagram, so go out there and follow him if you haven't already. He's releasing his video for his new song. Wait, let me see. I wrote it down. The song is "Find You." So that is happening at 8:00. So if you're on Instagram, go to Instagram. It's your boy JC, and you'll see the link. And Mike has a link up on the screen for you. So if you go to that link, if you go to the link right now, it'll say something like, "Will debut in 70 minutes" or something like that. So just be on the lookout for that. I think that's going to be fire.
Yeah. And you all know, the way the music game works now, it is really about that initial push, right? So make sure you go ahead, find that, and share it with all your contacts and whatnot.
Yeah.
Right.
And we were blessed at church here in Evans on Sunday. And so some people have asked what church we go to. We are members of Okie Grove Baptist Church here in Evans, Georgia, 911 North Bel Air Road. In Evans, Georgia, 30809.
You gave it all to them.
I know.
Come on, come through and
Just
see
in
us.
case you
y'all.
want to visit, the doors are open. But dang, what was I saying about church?
I don't know.
You pushed a button, and then I'm like,
I don't know.
Okay, I was saying something about church.
Mm-hmm.
We were blessed at church yesterday. Our marriage ministry at church, they showed a slideshow, and they
Oh
were
yeah.
inviting new married couples or married couples who have not yet become active in the marriage ministry to sign up. And
Yeah.
so they did that by capturing several years or several of the past years of the marriage ministry.
That was cool.
And it was set to Lifetime by Mike and Wendy,
That's our joint.
featuring JC. So that was really cool.
That
It
was
was
really
cool
cool.
to hear that up in the church. So
Yeah.
that's where I was going with that.
And if you've never heard it, I mean, you can play it up in the church and nobody will blink an eye. You know what I mean?
You can play it anywhere.
It's like, yeah, because I mean, JC, that's just how he does it.
yeah,
So,
yeah. So it
that's
was
good.
good. It was good.
Play it.
Yeah. So did you say what we're talking about tonight, or did you stop short?
Well, I said it, but I didn't break it down.
Oh, okay. Okay. So,
So
what are we talking about today?
defensiveness.
Okay.
Navigate, as the title says, navigating the minefield that is defensiveness. Right?
Yeah.
So the minefield, because it's a minefield, y'all. Like if you've ever been defensive, or if you've ever come at somebody and the defenses go up, yeah, you know what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So Dynasty Blue, we didn't get a chance to give you a hug, but I did see you. You were moving kind of fast yesterday at church, so thanks for joining us. Thomas Stokes, thanks for joining us, and Shelly Wilson. I was thanking you for that nice heartfelt message you sent us last week after we were struggling to get the marriage shop going. So thank you guys. Just wanted to shout you out real quick.
Right.
So yeah, this whole idea of defensiveness. So in this case, this one, I mean, we're still in the midst of this one. I think it might be too soon, but I mean,
It's never too soon.
we
for me.
agreed. We agreed.
More or
Clearly,
less.
clearly. Right.
Let's go.
So, navigating
See.
the minefield of defensiveness. I mean, I think even when you say minefield, it has kind of a negative connotation, right?
Right.
This whole idea of you watch where you step because it might blow up. Is that?
I mean, however you want to take the metaphor, right? Y'all want to, but you know, just the idea of defensiveness, because what is the opposite of defensiveness? Maybe receptiveness or something like that, right? And so someone who's willing to receive is, you know, in one state of mind, but if you're not willing to receive, and that manifests in a lot of ways, but if you're not willing to receive, defensiveness, right? I'm not the Heisman or the wall or the minefield.
Yeah. Okay. I
Right.
can see that. I mean, well, there's the idea of not being receptive and then defending actually could be two different things, right? So not being receptive could just be shutting down, not engaging, and a refusal to engage. Defending is more of I see it as a pushback or a protection of sorts, or coming back at you, right?
Not necessarily.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Not necessarily, because the you know, if I can use a military example, I guess I will. Right? They will say there's something that's called a hasty defense. Right? It's not well. You remember this, I'm sure, right?
I do.
It's not well constructed. You're grabbing what you can grab at the moment, but you basically the objective is to get some kind of a barrier between you and the incoming fire, right? And you know, the longer you're in place, the more you continue to develop and evolve your defenses. So eventually, you can create like a hardened position, right? And so I think this is a great parallel. It's a great metaphor, right? So you can just kind of dig in. You ever heard that term, digging in? That's a military metaphor.
That's funny. So
Yeah.
I mean, but you gave like one example, a hasty defense.
Well, no, I just gave, like I said, the hasty, and then you develop and evolve it, and then harden. I mean, I just went through the whole spectrum of defense.
Oh, I
That's
see.
what I just did. Right
Okay.
there.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, you know, I didn't just play a soldier on TV. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
yeah, no. I mean, we're bringing this to you guys because we had a conversation the other day, right? And in this conversation, one of us kind of lobbed a grenade, and the other one of us perhaps became defensive.
That's interesting. So is that why we bring? I mean, I didn't know that's why we were bringing this particular topic, but okay. So now I know. So yeah, she said lobbed a grenade.
Well, truth be
Interesting.
told, this was a question that was presented when we presented to us when we did the Weekend to Remember in Saratoga Springs.
Okay.
True?
It is true. Yes. There are many. Yeah, that's one
Well,
of
yeah,
them.
but
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was one of them.
Okay.
And the specific question was, how do you share an opinion without putting your spouse on defense? That's the question. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yes and yes. So
Right.
that was a question that was presented. That's why we're talking about it. And yes, we had a bit of a confrontation ourselves.
Yeah. So I mean, so this actually begs a question before the question because the way it's presented and the way we put it, putting your spouse on the defense, right?
Yep.
Like, can you really put your spouse on the defense? Can you do that?
Yes.
It's a fair question to ask.
The answer is yes.
Okay. I think defense is a choice.
Well, let's ask you
It's a
guys.
choice that I make
Yes.
very often.
So those of you that are on, tell us, answer that question for us. Just drop it in the chat. What's the question?
Can you put your spouse on the defense? That's the question.
Okay.
I would love to hear y'all's
Let's see what
opinion
they
on
say.
that. Okay. So who else watching? All right. So but that's gonna be like the delay is really significant tonight. So
Yeah, I know. So while we're waiting for you to come up with some answers to that and dropping it in the chat, I don't know why the delay is so significant.
I don't know. It's the
And
internet.
Shannon says it is freezing in Dallas. You know what the weather is in Dallas right
They're
now?
supposed to be. I think they're supposed to be single digits or something down in Dallas.
Really?
Oh yeah, there's like a whole freeze thing happening. Dallas, Midwest,
What is
Tennessee.
happening?
So yeah,
Yeah, that's not good.
it's not good. Listen, by the way, this tip is for free. Drip those faucets tonight. All right,
In Dallas. Oh yeah.
for real.
We've been there. So Shelly Wilson is answering for several people. She said yes, yeah, see.
Oh, I think that means
Gracias.
3 times yes.
Yes.
It does.
And-
My dad says an offense draws a defense. Don't be offensive. Woo-hoo.
Oh.
Look at that. Oh my
Don't be
goodness.
offensive.
Clarence E. Perry the third. Come on, man. You dropping
Bring that fire.
It's early for that. It's early for that kind of heat. Now, hold on. Who else says that you can put your spouse on the defense? Go ahead.
Yeah. So Lady T says yes if you're approaching with an accusatory
Accusatory
posture.
posture.
Yeah. Tawanda
Okay.
Williams Kelly, thanks for joining us. She says, absolutely. If an opinion is shared or question is asked with judgment, the walls are coming up. It's like I can
Okay.
hear. Ching, ching. Oh man. Quick says
Oh, my
29 degrees.
Doing
Ooh,
that,
that's
so that's not.
cold.
So I overstated, not single digits. But I tell you
Yeah,
what,
but
go
29
outside in
is
29
cold.
degrees without
Yeah.
coat. It's rough.
So, Jeff, hey, thanks for joining us, Elder Hill. He says sometimes we are on the defense from other things, and it bleeds over into other issues.
True
yeah,
that.
yeah, that's good.
Or
That's
from
good.
other periods of time, even.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because it's like this feels like, sounds like, smells like that other thing. So
yeah.
boom, boom, defense. Like
Yeah.
what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you guys for dropping
Thank
those
y'all.
in there. So yeah, I mean, in my opinion, which I offered quickly, was yes, you can actually put somebody on the defense, right? Do you make them defensive? You may evoke the emotion, right? You may evoke something that causes them to respond in a defensive posture, right?
Yeah.
They may feel attacked. They may feel accused. They may feel blindsided. They may feel caught off guard. There are a number of things that they may feel, and you have to consider what you say can impact how they feel, which in turn can determine how they respond, which could be defensiveness. So thank you
Yeah.
guys for doing that.
Yeah. And like the response that you often get when somebody is on the defensive, the response that you often get rarely is the first thing. It's rare that the first thing you'll hear is, hey, I'm feeling attacked, or hey, what do you mean by that? Or what? Typically, you get the boom, the reaction, right? And so, and what do you do? When you alluded to it. So first, the wall goes up, but then it's like the retaliatory strike might be on the way, maybe, right?
Might be, because I
So,
mean, it's kind
like,
of a
Get back.
Right. If you're feeling attacked, then the response is to protect, right? And
Yeah.
so this whole idea of, I mean, and I know what you won't get. I know what you won't get from me. You won't get, that's a really good question. I'm glad you asked.
Oh, nah, I don't think.
Not at that moment.
No.
I mean, even if I took some time to count to 10, I don't know that that's what I would come back with, depending on the nature of what is being stated, right? So sometimes there's a question, sometimes it's a statement, and sometimes it is. Wait, you got questions, you got statements. Is there anything else? Question, statement.
I mean, you could break down the kind of statements, but I mean, whatever. It's but I do think there's a hack though, and this is I'm gonna give y'all to this early. We had 20 minutes.
Okay.
There is a hack.
What's the hack?
The hack is to slow the conversation down and to say, "What do you mean by that?"
So that's good. So I have five
So-
T's. I don't know if we're gonna get to the five T's, but I have five
Wait a minute,
T's.
don't get to your 5 T's too soon. Is it? Are you
This
about
is
to you
one
about to
of the
give them up?
T's.
You about to give them? Okay.
No, one of the T's is timing. And so timing on the part of both parties. So consider this and say again what you said.
I said slow the conversation down.
Right. And
Yeah.
so the timing of it, right? And so this whole idea of even as you're about to make your statement, accusation, question, whatever it is, slow down your thinking as you're processing it, right? Maybe things changed in an instant. Like in our situation, we were having a conversation, everything was going along fine. We're driving along, going on our Sunday date to Costco, and I made a statement which caused a reaction. The reaction then caused a reaction. And so, in that timing, right, not knowing that the statement that I made was going to cause a reaction, the person who is about to leverage, and we're not going to make this about war because it's not war, but the person who is asking the question or making the accusation or whatever, right, that is going to put us in the throes of offense and defense. Take your time and consider whether or not what you have to say, what you're thinking, and what you're feeling all have to happen right now, right? Give yourself some time to kind of process your own feelings around it. If something happens that evokes some emotion in you, take some time to really kind of think that thing through before you immediately react and respond. Same for the person who is receiving whatever it is, question, accusation, attack. Take some time, consider really the root of it, and always consider the heart of it, right? Because sometimes it's the words, y'all. The words get us, and we start reacting quick to the words without really taking time to consider really the heart of it and where that person's coming from.
Yeah.
First T is timing. Somebody type that in the chat so I won't forget. Timing, Timing. Thank you. Yeah.
So it's a very interesting framework here that you said. Let me think about this framework. I mean, I don't disagree, right? It's
Yeah.
like, sometimes you find yourself in a conflict, I guess. You don't even know that the first thing has even happened, and you're just in it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So
Just that quick. I mean, and
But-
it can change on a dime, right?
right.
So,
And so
yeah.
so it could be, like well, let's not talk totally around it, just to give it, since you already put it out there, but
Sure.
there's something Wendy said, and immediately it's just like it cut across, like, and we talked about time earlier, right? It kind of cut across, whole like years of time and conversations. It's just like, wait a minute, right? And so I had that moment. So I'm like, I'm not gonna talk about this right now. Like, if I don't talk about it right now, she's gonna be like, "What happened? Something changed. What's wrong? Blah blah." Right? So
Maybe.
I'm like, yeah. At some point, she would ask like by next Saturday maybe or something like that.
Perhaps.
Otherwise, she would just let it ride, like, and whatever. I don't care. I'm not trying to hear that right now. So anyway, yeah. So there's that.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, I don't want to miss. Thanks for going to what
Sue Ann
says.
Ellison. Hey, Sue Ann Ellison.
Yeah. So before that, CP says, I find that past experiences can cloud the question being asked. And just like you said, the statement can cross years or several events or
Right.
whatever. And oftentimes that's one of the things that's kind of challenging with being married to somebody or being in a long-term committed relationship. You've been together over a period of time. And so while it is true that more often than not always, but more often than not, women find a way to connect each thing to the next thing to the next to the next over years and decades. That's possible, but all of us can have a tendency to do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, that has been said that men compartmentalize and women connect everything. But this whole idea of being able to or choosing to reach back beyond this moment, beyond today, or beyond being present in this moment, that really kind of it makes us have to defend over that span of time versus this moment. So just wanted to put that in there. So thanks for saying that, CP. So Sue Lynn says, I typically find myself on the defensive when I'm not enabling the children and not holding to our argument.
When I know I'm in.
When I know I'm not, I'm sorry, when I know I'm enabling the children and not holding to our agreement. Man, I need to put my glasses on. And so, I mean, it's kind of you are defending your decisions in that case, right? I mean, in your actions. And so then she says, and I'm more on defense when I'm asked for the accountability in front of close friends. That's like double, right? So it's like being called out on something that you had an agreement with or you agreed to, and then being called out in front of other people. Yeah.
So so here's another bonus one. This wasn't well,
That's
actually
good.
I do have a scripture for that first one. I just want to before we jump off of timing. Where is it? Yeah, so I want to share with you all this one. You will know this one. All right. So that's James chapter 1, 19 through 20. Know this, my beloved brothers. Let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger, for anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God. So, like whether and this is really whether you're sending, whether you're the one who has something to say or you're the one receiving. And this is very difficult. I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, y'all, it's too easy. The word says it, do it. It can be very difficult to just slow things down in your head and in your heart and just be, and because a lot of times once things like I heard something and I'm just like, I had a reaction. I'm like, okay, like, I don't know if I was slow to speak or not. I didn't speak immediately, but anyway,
No.
so, slow to anger, all those things, right? So I don't listen, you can talk about you. I'm talking about me. But so we don't need no confirmation up here. Anyway, I'm saying like slow down,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, and I think it's a
and
good
listen.
point. Slow down and listen, right? I think it's a good point. And I will add, you're not just listening to the words, right? Take it all in. Because I think sometimes, especially when we are on the defensive, we get we get quite righteous. Let's just cut to it, right? It's like, I know I'm right. You might be right about something, but you're not right about everything. And so then we just kind of stand our ground. You talk about digging in. We start to dig in quickly into our position, right? I know I'm right. I think you're wrong. You think you're right, or you're right. You think I'm wrong. Are we going to be able to move past this? So the one thing that in trying to respond, I really try to just kind of slow down a bit and think about what I'm what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and what I'm about to say. Sometimes I can draw that out to a long process, and sometimes it just doesn't happen that way, and I'm quick, and it's just like bam, and bam, 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 bam. And then
Oh yeah,
it's
right.
just
It's
like
like
this is not good. This is not a good time. It's not a good time. So we talked
It's
about timing, but I want to go to the next T, which is triggering, which I think kind of ties into a little bit about what Sue Lynn had put in there, and also what Clarence is saying. He says, in past training, we were told to ask permission to coach. Has not worked for me, right? And so this idea that we can, like superheroes, slow down time, go back into the recesses of our minds, remember what we've been taught or trained or counseled on, and then pull out and apply that thing in the moment at the perfect time when it's needed. It takes practice.
Yeah. Without practice, it's not gonna happen. Period. Just not gonna happen. Like all the books you got and those little handouts and all the cool things, you're like, oh yeah, and you practice it probably one time when you saw it. Without practice, it ain't happening.
Yeah. And so it takes practice. But, this idea of knowing what's going to get the other person to respond. And so when I say triggers, I don't necessarily mean in the conventional sense of saying the things that you know are going to make them mad or upset them. But I'm talking about being aware of maybe it was a past incident. Maybe it was something that they don't like for you to say about them, right? We get caught in that you always, you never, you sometimes, and it's accusatory in the tone, right? Those things, even in the way that you present it, I need to just go ahead and ask you this. That right away, saying that right away, I'm just like, nope, not a good time. I'm already responding. My body is responding before I even have a time to process what you're saying. You guys know what that is for your spouse. You've been around them long enough, you've lived with them long enough, and you've had plenty of conversations. You know exactly how to get them going without saying too much at all. Is that true?
Probably. I think that if you've ever said anything that's been triggering, I don't believe that most people are like, I'm about to go in here and blow this up. I think what happens is they become very like me focused, what I need to say, what I'm feeling, like what I heard, you know what I mean? So it becomes now, okay, I'm going to say this, right? And so it's not about, I'm going to push that button. It just so happens that what you have to say could very well push a button.
Yes.
And the way you say it could very well push a button.
And whether or not you knowingly push that button or you accidentally push that button, once the button is pushed, then there's going to be response, there's going to be reaction, and perhaps there's going to be some defensiveness on both sides, right? And so so that second T is for triggers. So somebody captures that for me. Thanks, Lady T, for jumping in early and getting the first T for me. But triggers is that next one. Were you going to say something about a comment?
I was going to say something about a comment, but
I know Clarence Howell had a comment back up there.
Well, he was talking about stop looking and listening.
Yeah, I thought he had something even before then, but that's good.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe not. Okay, stop, look, and listen. Love it. Yes, and Sue-Ann, thanks for saying that. She says, I try to justify my stance, decision. Yes, that is so true. And she says, I could be way off base because I came to the chat late. No, you're right on point.
You're right on base.
On point. Lady T says, and also, if you talk to me versus at me, that will dictate the response, if any, you get.
Oh, snap. If any.
Amen.
Right? So,
wait, I got to say this right now.
Go ahead.
That was T number 3. And it actually says on my thing, talk with me, not at me. T number 3. So we got timing, triggers, and talk with me, talk to me, not at me.
And so in case you don't know what talking at look like, right? If you ever have a tendency, if this is you, right? if you strike a posture, something like that, like look at me. I'm just saying though, I blah blah. Like people have a tendency to gaze off somehow up to the left while they talking. I don't know why people do that, but
it's like they're talking to the imaginary group of people that are agreeing with them.
Right. So
like me and all these people over here think.
So yeah. So you might want to and this can be challenging, but turn and look. Right. Look at that person. Look at them while you're talking to them, because it will literally change the way that you speak to somebody if you're looking at them.
It is true.
Yeah.
It is true, which is why, timing, again, when you have the conversation is important. In the car may not be necessarily the time to have the conversation because one of you might not be able to make sustained eye contact. Just saying. In the car is a great place to have conversations with the teenagers because they tend to open up a little bit more without direct eye contact. Not the topic we're talking about tonight. But for the two of you, if there's something that is really important, even if it's happening right now, you have to get it out, put a pin in it and wait until you're able to give yourself some time to process it. Wait until you're able to sit down and talk to each other, engaging each other. So
Yeah.
talking at me and not to me is also in the words that you choose, right? If you say things like, everybody knows that, so and so would agree with me, like everybody except for the two of us in here, yeah, no, don't
Yeah.
do that. Don't bring in
That's not it.
anybody but us two. This is between me and you and nobody
Yeah.
else.
What so and so said and what whoever believes is
And
crazy. I
also
know.
making definitive statements about what you should do, what you're going to do, what I need you to do. That is another way of talking at you versus talking with you or to you, right? Inviting you into the conversation versus pointing the fingers and being accusatory. So thank you for
So
sharing that, Lady T.
so now what I need is that, I mean, I don't know if that fits into the box that all those other statements you just
Well,
said
you
fit
say what I
into.
need you to do.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
What I need
guess.
you to do is.
Oh, I mean, I
Yeah.
guess. I mean, yeah. So, gotcha. All right. So, I don't disagree with that.
Okay. So,
So-
talk with me, not at me. That's what she says. And then Clarence House says, "I'm guilty of that. That face, red, droopy eyes."
So, speaking of that, I don't know why weird eyes made me think of. Like, if you've ever, I don't know, maybe it's only us, because I was thinking, turn the lights on. By the way, because have you ever been in a pitch black room, like bedroom generally is where it's going to be, and you're having a conversation into the darkness, but can't see each other? Maybe that's just us. But I find that, the darkness is not always that helpful in terms of this idea of what we're talking about, like being able to see.
It's true,
Yeah.
but it can't hide eye rolls and
Oh, it definitely has eye rolls.
glares and squinting.
And like,
So
it has all them faces, right?
until your
Which
face is ready to join your mind,
it's just
perhaps
like-
you wait until you've given yourself some time to process before you turn the lights on.
It'd be like, right? You get away with a lot of stuff in the darkness, which is why you should probably turn the light on.
Yes, yes. So those are good. Those are good. So, and thank you, Tawanda, for capturing that for me. So those were just a few of those things. If you just joined us, we're talking about navigating the minefield of defensiveness and this whole idea of how you enter into conversations and whether it is something that is accusatory, something that is offensive in that you're attacking the person and not literally and deliberately, right? I think, truth be told, none of us goes into it, like you said, thinking I'm going to spark this, right? I'm going to say this thing because right now is the right time to get into some kind of heated discussion about whatever it is that we're going to talk about. Let's go. I don't know who's doing that, and perhaps that might be you. But in most cases, that's not what we're doing. We're not trying to spark some type of anger or spark some type of defense. We're trying to get some clarity. We're trying to gain some understanding. We're trying to validate our thoughts. I think in most cases that's what's happening. So yeah.
I think this word right here is consistent with where we sit right now before we move to the next thing.
Okay.
And that is Colossians chapter 4, that's verse 6. Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you ought to answer each person.
Yeah.
So, for you, I don't know exactly what that means in terms of your speech being gracious and seasoned with salt. But I think we know what it looks like when it's not. Wendy's kind of mentioned it, it can be accusatory, it can be definitive, like this is the word, the last word on it. And that's all I got to say. It could be like Joe Clark, right? If you ever seen Stand By Me, right? And so I think when you season it with salt, if you think about that, even if you think about what salt does,
Yeah.
right? It's seasoned, it changes the taste of things. But if I want to extend it even further, it stands the test of time, right? It helps to preserve things,
Preserve it.
right? And so, can you look back on the words that you've spoken, and say, yeah, you know what? I feel good about that. I feel like I said it the way it needed to be said, and I think it. You know what I mean? It's like I delivered that in a way that I could say it again, right? And it kind of stands the test of time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. And I think that, birth order, where you were in your family can sometimes contribute to this. I think oftentimes, and I think it's Ed and Amy who kind of demonstrated this to me. They, talking about how they grew up from different families and how they communicate. Some
Yeah.
families are just loud when they talk to each other. Some people just get all demonstrative, like, and I said, and blah, 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 when they're making their point. And some people are not quite like that. Some
Yeah.
people are quite reserved and never raise their voice. And so, even in that, considering your spouse before yourself, right? No, I'm not mad, but you're getting loud, right? When you start to escalate, when you start to get louder. So even if you're not getting louder, but you're escalating, when you can feel the change in your body, you can feel the change in your emotion. When you start to escalate, that should be an indication that you need to slow down, perhaps, give it some time, and it should signal you that, wait a minute, we are moving into territory that, is it necessary for us to go there, right? Is this something that has to happen? And so I think that was one of the things you were saying about when you're the sender, right? It was consider carefully whether this is important and why. And why now, right? Does this have to happen right now? Is this something that can't wait? Is this something that is more important over anything else that's happening in this moment? What? What were
I
you gonna
said,
say?
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Nah.
sound like you were gonna say something.
Nope.
And also considering how that other person's gonna respond. Go through that mental checklist before you launch or leverage or make the statement that you're gonna make. And then when you're the receiver on that, really kind of, and I shared this when I said, my sister said, if you can start everything with the thought that, if I said, okay, I know Mike loves me and I know that he has my best interest at heart, before I respond to what he may be saying in a moment, what he may be doing in a moment, just taking time to reflect on that could change my response.
Yep.
Be slow to speak, quick to hear, slow to anger.
Yep, yep. And Justice Smith said, who I grew up on defense.
Yeah.
Right? It's hard, when you grew up on it, it's just hard. It's like it is a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
By the time you become an adult and get married, you're like a defense ninja.
I like what Sue Ann, she said, do we push buttons to try to take the spotlight off ourselves? I would say that maybe that's true for some people, right? In the heat of things, or when they feel like they're defenseless or blindsided, it is human nature to retaliate. It's human nature to say, well, okay, so I left the cabinet open. You left the other cabinet open. You didn't take the trash out. I mean,
Right.
It's like, okay, let's
Yeah.
try to keep it apples to apples.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where it's interesting, right? Because it's what we call on when we're doing the weekend to remember. It's the is it the insult for insult cycle, right? Where you perceive something as somehow an insult, or maybe you didn't do it. Like Sue Ann kind of. I said Sue Ann. That's so
Sue Ann.
country. Sue Ann kind of alluded to it earlier, where it's like, when you come at me, I need to throw something out there in order to now level the playing field.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, are you going to call me out? No, I'm going to call you out, right? And so when we do that, the first conversation is over because now you've changed the conversation. Who was it? Was it Tawanda who said, a lot of the agreements it's about how something is said, not about what was said in the first place.
That's
and
good.
so when we don't like how something is said, and then boom, I'm going to go ahead and clap back, and now you have an entirely different conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I personally, I'll talk about me since you talked about you. When Mike tries to tell me about me, right? Tell me what I do or what I think or what I said, that automatically is going to get me thinking about what I thought, what I said, and what I do. And then I'm going to defend what I do, what I think, and what I say. And it can get us way off base, right? It can shift the focus completely because now you've made it about me. And I think even when you are getting into a discussion, you're bringing up a point, you're sharing a thought, whatever it is, right? We have to be clear on not attacking the person, right? If there's something that doesn't sit right with us, if it's something that you said, keeping the focus on what you said, not on you, right? If it's something that you did, keeping the focus on what you did, not on you. I think what?
Okay, so I'm sorry. I hate to cut you off, but nah, y'all. I don't want you to. I don't listen. That doesn't work. No, I think what it is because when I share with Wendy like, hey, this is what you said. That doesn't. I cannot recall when that's ever going like super well.
No, what I'm saying is you're not attacking me. You have issue with something that I said or something that I did. You don't have issue with me.
I got it. I'm just
That's
saying.
the point
But
that I'm making.
I understand the point you're making. I'm simply saying separating, like expecting you or whoever your person is to separate themselves from their statement is a tall order.
Yeah,
That's all.
right. And
So,
so what it requires is that you, the person that is making the statement, be very clear in what it is that you're talking about, right? And so it's not you. It's when you, or when you said, when you did, or whatever, right? And so that's the point that I'm making. That is
Okay.
not a personal attack in these situations, because a personal attack will always make somebody feel like they're being attacked, and that is absolutely going to get you stepping on a mine, and it's going to blow up.
right. And so what I want you to help explain is what that actually looks like. Like, you know, making it not about you, the person, them, the person, but about the words, and somehow making some distinction that doesn't put somebody on the defensive.
Right. And that's why I think all of the steps are important, right? The timing, not just when and where and what we're saying, how we're saying it, but also, in a time and a place where maybe we're sitting down and we're talking anyway, right? And so it's not, hey, everything's going great. Let me go ahead and just roll this in. Or, things are already bad, so let me just add something else in there, right? It is, how do we make time to be able to have conversations with each other that maybe we know the other person's not going to take it so well, but there are conversations that shouldn't be avoided. So we've shared with you in the past this whole idea of avoidance not being a strategy, right? Even if you're an introvert, you don't get a pass to be able to say, I don't want to talk right now, and then never come back. If you're having a conversation, it gets too heated, and you guys decide that you're going to take a break from it and come back to it, make sure that you also decide when you're going to come back to it. So at our designated time that we decide, our 15 minutes a day to download, maybe that's the time where we choose one thing that we need to talk about that may be uncomfortable. Maybe we know the person that's introducing it already knows that it's a potentially charged topic, so then we introduce it that way. I think slowly going into it and doing some prep work can make all the difference. And I'm not just talking about changing your words just a little bit to see, but bottom line is you have to test different things out, because you and your spouse know each other better than anybody else does.
I actually heard something just last week talking to Jasmine. I don't know if Jasmine's on tonight, but she wouldn't mind if I share this with I don't know, everybody.
Okay.
And that is, they actually have an evening every week where she and her husband, they come together, and she and Morris, they come together, and that this is the designated time to bring your issue, like on a weekly basis. And I'm like, oh, that right there, okay, I like it. It's like I need to come up with a name for it or something. Like, at first I call it, I think I called it like the something, I forget. But anyway, we need to come up with a name for that. But I thought it was good, because you kind of know that if there's something, then there will be a place to put it. Because frankly, you hear people say oftentimes, like, you either going through a trial, or you're going through something, or you're coming out of something, or you're going into something. Like, the cyclical nature of life means that if there's something you got going on, you got an issue that you really want to discuss, then you're going to be disrupting something good, or you're going to be piling onto something bad, generally speaking, right? It's rarely are we're kind of in this constant flux. Rarely are we just sitting still. And so it's like there's not going to be, if it's something that's really perceived as good, you're not going to want to jump in there and blow up the spot.
Yeah.
Right. So go
That's
ahead.
good. That's good. So Lady T says the what's your issue hour.
I love it.
That's good.
Right.
Whatever works for you in your home, I think that's good. Charles Jones, thanks for joining us tonight. Jeff
Hey.
Hill said part of the defensiveness part of the defensiveness comes from when we get historical. Someone will get historical. And that kind of goes back to what CP was saying and what we were saying in the beginning, really making today's discussion about today, right?
Yep.
We're trying to keep it as recent, or we call it primacy, keeping it as current as possible. When you're reaching back years or days or weeks ago, it really makes it difficult to defend. And so, I
Hey,
think
it's Cynthia
Tawanda
Walters.
Tawanda said many of our disagreements are about how I said something versus what I said. And that can be true too. I mean, I think some of us, we know that it's kind of a landmine, right? I mean, you're not intending to trigger somebody, but sometimes that's the case. Dr. Walters, thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
And what did she
welcome.
say? And she says, I like that. Good idea to set a time to discuss. And I think there's something to be learned. Jasmine and Morris have been married a whole year now.
1 year. Dropping that knowledge.
There's always something to be learned. And the thing though is this, and I'll say, when you set a designated time, maybe you set that time to talk about many things, but one of the things or some of the things can also, if there's an issue, can be brought into it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't advise just making it the let's bring up our issues hour, because then that in and of itself can be something that can be anxiety provoking. It can also have you anticipating drama and angst before you ever even get there. So
Yeah, but I think, because it is not necessarily just the exclusively issues hour. It is,
Yeah.
if there's an issue, this is when we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
But at some point, you got to kind of decide what you're going to do. We're going to discuss it now. We're going to discuss it later. We're going to designate a time.
Yeah.
But it can't be, we can't do anything because we're crippled by the anxiety of maybe something's going to be in the time that we've designated.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's kind of like marriage, right? Because here's the thing. You wake up every day, you know you're going to see that person. You go to bed at night, you know you're going to see that person. And it's not that there's no escaping them. It's that it's so much easier to get along when we're not harboring feelings of any type that are negative in any way, right? If one of us isn't feeling good about something, then things are not going to be good across the board. So when we're able to work to resolve things and resolve them quickly, the better it is for all of us. Even in understanding that there are some people who just need more time to prepare to work towards that resolution.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's up, James Thomas? Yeah,
Yeah.
like exactly that talk about anxiety.
Yeah.
We need to talk. Yeah.
Yeah. We both have
quicker
trigger
way.
words for in both of those situations.
Yeah.
So the last T I'll give you is test. Test. We talked about this recently. Really, we talked about this idea of practicing, right? Testing your conversations or introducing issues in smaller ways first, maybe in things that are more benign, things that don't have a lot of stake in them, right? That are not heavy, right? We're not trying to change the world, but testing it on something small. So when we were talking to Moses and Marilet, I was saying how difficult it is for me to even say something like, if your breath doesn't smell good, it's hard for me to be like, man, how do I tell him?
That's weird because
That- I
that
know.
was surprised me here. I'm like, really? Why?
Yeah,
I mean, the
it
truth
just
is what it is in that respect.
Everybody has their thing, right?
No-
And I think it's because I'm also sensitive. And so I'm always considering, well, how would I receive that if he said that to me? And how you say it matters, right? So if his breath isn't smelling fresh, there's a couple of options, right? I could be like, you want some gum? I could be like, you want a mint? I could say, is your mouth dry? I could say, would you like some water? Or I could just say, something
Listen.
is not right over there. I mean, there's a whole lot of ways to come at it.
Right, but it gets back to what you were saying earlier in terms of understanding who it is you're with, right?
Yeah.
And so all those things you mentioned are all things that would be significant to you, right? And so therefore, because if my breath ain't right, I need to know like right now. I don't need no dancing around. I mean, it ain't personal. It's like, brush, floss, rinse, something need to happen.
Yeah.
And so I don't, it's one of those things where I don't take it personally,
Yeah.
which is a whole entirely different conversation in terms of how we communicate things in general,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
how it shapes the way that we enter into a conversation.
But I think
right?
it speaks to our human nature in that most of us communicate and receive things. I mean, communicate and deliver things in the way that we would like to receive them, which is why the 5 love languages is so important, and knowing your spouse and being a student of your spouse, right? Because they're not you. So you really have to spend some time appreciating and learning who they are. It doesn't matter how you might feel about it or how you would receive it when you're about to deliver something. What matters in that moment is how they would receive it and how they would respond to it, right? And so this whole idea of not wanting to hurt you. And so while telling you that your breath doesn't smell fresh may not be something that really hurts you, but it seems like because it's not a positive thing that it's difficult to, and I want to put in the effort to package it in a way as to not hurt your feelings or embarrass you or make you feel some kind of way. So I'm considering those things because I have that expectation that you would do the same.
Yes.
Now, that's true no matter what we're talking about, but that's just one example. That's one of those small things. If I can just get to the point where I'm like, babe, you just need to go brush. You
Right.
need to go brush and floss and gargle.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
all of
because-
us would feel so much better.
Well,
I mean, then yeah, we'd
I mean,
be good.
but I mean, it's like
I
the things,
could.
the things that are important, right? And so again, that I just think that it's like, yo, wait a minute, right? This ain't working. And so, but I think that for me, what it does at the very least is it is informative to me, right? Like when these breath is not like if it's on 100, then I need to be able to. I need to maybe not say, "Oh, girl, your breath on 100 right now. You might need to go
Yeah.
handle that," right?
No,
And so,
because I would
but-
not take that well.
but I've learned. I mean, I know. I mean, the breath thing is not a thing. There's other issues, but some things just don't talk about, y'all. We all know.
we all have our stuff, but my point was testing something small, testing something benign, something that may be difficult for you to communicate, and really kind of confronting your real issue. Is it that you don't want to hurt them? Is it that you're afraid for some reason? Is it that you are anxious for some reason? What are the reasons behind why you enter into or avoid conversations that you should have? And I think that's more important than the words that you actually use.
Or even respond, right? How you enter into it, why you avoid, how you respond. You must eat some
That's
ranch
so
dressing.
good.
Hilarious.
Shelly said, my husband
Like, ooh.
says, you must have ate some ranch
Like, oh,
dressing.
baby, did you get the seasoned
Did you
fries
have
tonight?
onions? Were there onions on your... Did you drink coffee? That's what I usually say. You had some coffee today.
Right.
And he's like, oh, you can still smell that. And
So
I'm like,
listen, you're right. I've become hypersensitive to coffee and onion,
yes.
right? Because I know that those triggers. But yeah.
Yeah. So those are just some things. We just came to you real quick with those T's, and I don't know if I gave you 5 or not, but thanks for capturing them. And if I only gave you 4, then that last one was think, and think was tied into the timing and everything else about what you say. What were you gonna say? You have something else?
Nah, we good. I think we no need to crack open a whole nother direction here, in the 9th hour. So I think we'll just go ahead and land the plane right there.
Yeah. Well,
And
no,
so-
I thought your last point was good.
Oh, okay. You can say that. Remember, last point. Remember, this is the person that you married. Over the course of time, we human beings, right? We meet that first time, and for a lot of us, there's that something, right? There's that something, and it's like, oh boy, right? I can't wait to talk. Can't wait to, go out. Can't wait to, right? And over the course of time, sometimes, not sometimes, that initial surge, that disappears, honestly, right? And that's okay. That's just the way it is. And so we talk about all the time, how to keep the spark going and how to continue to, keep it hot and keep it sexy and
Fan the flame.
fan the flame and recognize each other. But listen, at its very basic level, this is that same dude you married. It's that same girl you married, right? And so that person who probably, since you got married, has, gone through a whole lot of living. Yeah, there's some things that begin to change you, maybe how you see the world, how you respond to the world. But that person that you married, they're still in there, right? And if you're able to slow down, right, watch your words, approach everything with love, then you may see that person more often than you thought. So, with that, we out. We got to go. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Hey, we're going to pray and we're going to get you all out of here, okay? Heavenly Father, we just come to you tonight just thanking you for who you are. Thank you for being God and for blessing us to see another day. Tonight, God, as we sit, for everyone watching, everyone listening, we just ask you bless their homes, bless their families, God, bless their marriages with love, kindness, peace, understanding. Help us all to slow down long enough, not only to hear and see each other, God, but to hear from you. We just ask that you be in us and with us, and that you be the one who speak through us as we speak to one another. So we thank you, God. We love you. We pray these and all blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. So don't forget, I think it's like right now that video is dropping 8 o'clock Eastern time. And we have that link up there for you, or you can just look up It's Your Boy JC on Instagram or Facebook to get that link to his new video, Find You. So yeah, that's it, guys. We'll see you next Monday in February, Black History Month.
Black History Month on the way. See y'all later. Thanks, everybody.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. It's your boy JC. I'm in the mood, love. Yeah. Lately I've been constantly thinking about the pain. You drive me crazy, yeah. And girl, I want this. Got me all up in my feelings. Oh, what a feeling, yeah. I know the first time I laid eyes on you, that you would be here forever. I'm not being arrogant, and I still can't take my eyes off you. 'Cause you made me better, so much better. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime, baby. I love your kindness, I love your confidence. Ooh, you're the finest. So glad you're mine, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't wanna be with nobody else. Give me your love, that's all the love I need. Baby, you're priceless to me, yeah. To love you for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime, yeah. Whoa. Promise I'ma be around, I'ma always hold you down. Won't you come and hold me now? Won't you come and hold me now? I just got a new coupe, yeah, I know I got a roof, but I always keep it down with you, yeah. And I know they see, girl, you're my queen, and beauty speaks for itself loud and clear, yeah. So throw it in the air. It's the sweetest sound to follow my ear. And I want the world to know I'll love you forever. And that's a long time, baby.